welcome back to Turntable Guy. Today I am going to show you how to diagnose when you have a bad channel output on your turntable. So this is strictly for audio. So let's say you purchased a turntable used or whatever, or a thrift store or something. You bring it home, you plug it in, and you notice that either one or both of the audio channels is not making any sound. So how do you go about diagnosing that? It can be a bit of a tricky job to do because there's so many termination points in a turntable. The very first termination is from the cartridge to the end of the head shell pins. So that's your first connection point. Now, if you have a removable head shell, there'll be another connection point from the collar on the tone arm to the connection point inside the turntable. And there's usually some kind of connection board there where the wires are terminated either by solder or they could be crimped on or whatever. And then at that point, the RCA cables will go to that termination point as well. And these will go out to your amplifier or receiver or preamp or whatever you're using. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over some of the connection points and how to test to look for a bad channel. And then I will also show you, let's say you've tested the entire turntable. You've tested from the head shell all the way back to the cables, and you have continuity all the way through on both right positive and negative and left positive negative. And you can't figure out what's going on. Well, there's a possibility that your cartridge is bad. And I'll show you how to measure for resistance on your cartridge to see if you have a bad channel there. Okay. So I put my SL23 on the bench because it's nice and small and light. And it'll give us, it's got a nice connection board as well that we can dig into. Not all tables are the same, obviously, but this one's pretty standard as far as the different connection points. So, all right, so you bring it home, you plug it in, you get no sound, right? So what you want to do, let's take this, hey, forget how to take my, my dust cover off. You have to unscrew this one with a screwdriver. This table's been sitting on the shelf for quite a long time now. I'm not using it very much, but it's part of my techniques collection, so it's definitely one that I'll probably never get rid of. I think it's one of the best belt drive turntables made, but anyway, that's a conversation for another time. Okay, so what we're going to do first here. All right, so the first thing you want to measure is you want to measure, I'm just going to remove the head shell for a minute. You're going to want to measure from each of these connections on the head shell. So you're going to put your multimeter. Okay, so if you have a digital multimeter, there's a couple ways you can do this. If you have a continuity tester, that's obviously the easiest. You can set it for continuity, and then if you have continuity, your tester is going to make a beeping sound. Okay, if you don't have that function, you can just leave it in the ohms position. And, you know, if it's an open lead like it is right now, okay, that means you have no connection. You put your leads together, and it shows it's shorted. Right now we're getting, well, my leads are moving around. And you should get 0, right? 0 ohms. So that means there's a short. So in other words, you have continuity, right? So that's one way of doing it. But if you, most digital voltmeters will have that continuity tester, okay? So what you're going to want to do is I'm going to get down here. I'm going to put the, maybe I'll zoom in just a little bit more. And I'll test each of these leads just as you would at home. Okay. And the first thing you want to do is get your RCA cables, get them close. That way you're not messing around. Okay. And put that. And where can I put this? Put it here so you can see it. All right. So I usually test one channel at a time. Okay. So as we get down here, so the left side's on this side. So I'll do left first. So I'm going to touch my probe to the center pin of the left channel. Okay. And that's positive. So positive left is always white. So if I touch the white, I have a connection, okay? Now, left channel negative is the sleeve here, okay? And you just want to touch on the sleeve, and then your other probe you're going to put on the blue wire. Sorry, I'm not getting a good connection here. There we go. Okay. And the same thing for right channel. Okay, now this is a little bit more difficult because it's under here, but here's our red positive. And then our negative is green. So we have continuity all the way through. This table works. Okay, so anyway, so you have continuity all the way through. So technically this turntable should make sound. Now, let's say that you do that and you're still missing a channel. Okay, so we're going to want to remove the head shell now. Now we're going to test continuity from the collar to the cable. So I'm going to bring you down with me here to show you what I'm talking about. All right. So within the head shell are 4 pins. Okay. And they match up. What do I do with my cartridge? Here it is. They will match up with the little tabs on the back of the head shell. Okay, so those tabs go in, and those little contacts inside that collar are spring loaded. So when you insert this into the turntable collar here, you're actually depressing them a little bit and you're making your contact. Okay, so looking at these pins, the top left is white or left channel positive. The bottom left is blue or left channel negative. The top right is red or right channel positive. And finally, the bottom, the right bottom is green or right channel negative. Okay, and so you would do the same thing. So it's a little bit more difficult because you're going to get your probe. And what I would recommend is maybe get some alligator clips and attach them to the test point here. So you're going to either put an alligator clip on your negative here or on your center pin here, right? So do that, and then attach a lead to your other connector of your multimeter, and then go in there and try not to, whatever you want to do, don't touch the ring here, okay? Because that is ground. So you're going to want to go in there and you're going to want to touch each of these pins. And focus. There we go. So you're going to touch each one of those. And like I said, they will push in. And we're going to test the continuity from there to there. I'm not going to do it because there's no way I can hold the camera and do that at the same time. All right. So there's your 4 connectors. Okay. Let's go back up. All right. The other point of failure is within the turntable, because now there's going to be 4 leads that come through. They go through the center portion here. Let me zoom out. They go through here, they go into the turntable, and then they terminate at the connection board. So what I'll do now, and I'll leave that off, so I'm going to turn the turntable upside down. I'm going to put the lid back on. I'm going to flip this over, and I'll get the base off, and then I'll show you that connection point. Okay, the SL23 is opened up, and we're presented with the inside of the turntable here. That's the front of the turntable over that way. Obviously, the connections are usually going to be in this corner of the turntable, which is the right back corner. Every turntable is different, obviously. The SL23 has this huge metal shield here to prevent hum from affecting the turntable cables. So to get at the cables, we're going to need to remove these two screws. Most turntables will have a shield, whether it's in the table or it could be in the base itself. And once we flip that back, we are presented. Here's our RCA cables coming in here, and they are terminated here at a termination board. Here are our actual 5 wires, because there is a ground cable that goes in to ground the tone arm. Okay, so you can check your ground as well, but your ground will not affect the sound coming out of the cartridge. If your ground is not connected, you will quite possibly have a buzzing sound. All right, so here's our 4 wires coming in. We have black, we have green, we have red, we have white, and we have blue. And there's these little traces here that go to the RCA cables, and all 4 are soldered there. Here's our strain relief for the RCA cables to make sure they don't move around. All right, so same kind of thing. Another test point that you might want to do which is going to be a little bit more difficult, and that involves testing the tone arm cabling itself. And that'll require you putting your turntable on some kind of a lift. And what you're going to want to do is check between the head shell and these test points here. All right, and that will verify the continuity of these very, very thin tone arm cables. Okay, so that is another test point that you want to check. Now you can do it from the points that I showed you inside the collar, or you can do it from the cartridge itself to check. Okay, and so that'd be your second test point. I can't do it here because I'd have to get the turntable up on a stand. There's just no way to film it properly. So you're going to want to get your one probe in on, let's say, the blue wire, and then you're going to come in here and touch your blue wire. And if that's good, then your white, your red, and your green. Okay, if those all test good, then you know that the cabling within the tone arm itself is fine. All right, so this is a major place that you will get tone arm issues, or cable issues, because the strain relief will sometimes put pressure on the cable, even though it's supposed to protect the cable. This is a point of failure. Also, another point of failure is the strain relief where the RCA cables enter the turntable itself, because they're kind of squashed down on each other. So that's a point of failure as well. All right, so we're going to test from the tone arm test cable here. I mean, you can even test here, actually, if you wanted to. You can test these points as well, because it's not completely unheard of for this connection to break. So you can just check from solder point to solder point here. You can even check your ground. Okay, so those are all okay. Obviously, these are the same pad here, so shouldn't be a failure here, but you never know. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing with these test points and our RCA cables. So we're going to grab our red. You seen that okay? Yeah. So there's the red. We're going to touch red. Okay. And then we're going to check our red negative, which is green. And then we'll check our left channel, left positive, and left negative. And then you can even check, you should have a little spade connector on your ground. You can check that as well. And then you can also check if the turntable is grounded itself. Most of the metal chassis of the turntable should be grounded. Well, those pots aren't. That is. Most of the tone arm is. That's good. So ground's good. Even that's the switch for the motor actuator right here, and that's grounded as well. The motor itself is grounded. Okay, so you can check for ground like that. All right, so if all that checks out, you've got an RCA cable and cabling within your turntable, that is fine. But that's not always the case. The trick is to find where the break is. And that's why you've got those three major sections to check. Okay, check the entire length, RCA to head shell. Then check RCA to collar pins. And then check collar pins to these points here on the termination board, the tone arm cabling. And then you can also test these points. And then check from here to your RCA cable. And I will guarantee you that you will find your fault and why you don't have sound in one of your channels and or both of your channels. Okay. All right, so I'm going to button this up. So that's how you test for a bad cabling situation. Next, we're going to check, like if all that checks out, what happens if all that is fine? What do you do next? We're going to check the cartridge. I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to test some cartridges. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to have to put your multimeter in the ohms position. And what we're checking for is each channel has a set of coils. And most of the time when a cartridge goes bad, the coils go open. So they're very, 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 very fine copper wiring. And they can break. All sorts of things can happen. They usually don't. I don't see a lot of cartridges go bad. But this cartridge here has gone bad. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So you're going to get your two probes. And you see that? Yeah. What we're going to do is let's remove the stylus because it's still good. We're going to measure across each channel's coils. And what we're looking for, actually, let's do a good cartridge first. Okay. And you can do it in the head shell. So what we're looking for is we're looking for something greater than 100 ohms, and the Shure's service manual states that anywhere between 100 and 10,000 ohms. All right. Now, I've noticed that a lot of cartridges are around the 500, 400 points. So let's just do this. So we're going to put one probe on the left negative and one probe on the left positive. And I am in diode mode, which is no good. Let's do that again. And just let it read. There we go, 416 ohms. Okay, 417, right? So that channel's good. So we know the left channel's good. Now we're going to do the right channel. Across the green and red now. 418. It'll move around a little bit. Okay, so we have two good channels. So that's a good cartridge. Okay, now if we do the same test with this one, we'll just go across the set of leads here. And as you can see, it's open. Okay, that was the right channel. And now let's do the left. This is really hard to do. And as you can see, open. So this cartridge is garbage. Okay. So, you know, I don't know what happened to this cartridge. I got it with a used turntable. It's pretty rare for both coils to go open. I'm not sure what happened to it. But sometimes you'll see that one channel is bad and the other channel's good. I guess we could also do it like this. Open. Open. Okay, so that's a bad cartridge. If we do it on this one, good. Good. All right, so that's a good cartridge. This is garbage. So those are your places that you have to check. You have to check your wiring. You have to check your cartridge. And another thing I just wanted to touch upon real quick is you may have a turntable that has an automatic muting switch. Okay, some turntables duals in particular. When you press start and the arm comes up and it moves across and drops on the record, a muting circuit kicks on. And the cam gear actually separates the leads within the turntable, right? And then when the cam comes around right before or right after the needle touches the record, the cam closes the two contacts within the turntable, and then you get sound. And what it's done for is it prevents your needle dropping on the record. If say your silicone oil is a little bit it's getting a little bit loosey-goosey right on the arm and it drops kind of hard, you're not going to get that big thump through your speakers when the stylus hits the record. It's another place where you can get failure. The two connection points, it's almost like a relay, where they come in contact, those tend to oxidize, so you have to clean those out. It's another place where you can have a failure and you can have a dead channel. And duals have a lot of places where you can get a dead channel, especially the old 12 series or 10 series with the head shells, with the sleds that go in. So there's a lot of contact points that can go bad on those. But for just your regular kind of Japanese turntable or whatever, more simpler turntable, you're going to have fewer connection points, but you still have to test them all to make sure that you have continuity. And now you know how to do that. And that's this video. Anyway, guys, I appreciate your time. And thank you for watching. Happy New Year. It's our first video of 2024. And we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.